And our top story, undermining the linchpin of our democracy. Of all the hearings that the new Republican House is about to engage in, Congressman Jim Jordan, the new chairman of the Judiciary Committee, says none will be more important than hearings about the political weaponization of our justice system. Here's Chairman Jordan in an interview just before the election. Listen.
By far the most important is the Justice Department that's now political. You cannot have a political Justice Department and also have a free society, a free country. There's even a purging. Some of these guys have said they're trying to get rid of folks in the FBI who have conservative beliefs.
Well, Exhibit A for proving the politicization of our justice system could be President Biden's secret document scandal. Already, we've seen shocking differences in the way the Department of Justice and the FBI have handled this case compared with their handling of Donald Trump's. But examples of political bias have been creeping into our once proud system of blind justice for a while now. The most obvious example was the FBI's effort to undermine the candidacy and then the presidency of Donald Trump. The Russian collusion hoax, in which a small cadre of political actors at the FBI used leaks and, even worse, false evidence to push a narrative and spy on American citizens. It was a disgrace and an insult to our democracy and also to the reputation of the FBI. Now, more recently, we have the revelations from the Twitter files that the FBI has been violating our First Amendment rights in order to spread false information and censor individual Americans through social media companies. All these issues and more have to be investigated thoroughly and quickly. Chairman Jordan is exactly right in warning that we can't maintain a free society with violations of our most basic guarantees of our rights. Of all the folks infuriated by political bias in the FBI, none are more upset than the brave and patriotic agents who work so hard to honor the agency and our Constitution in pursuit of justice. One of those individuals joins us now. She is former FBI Special Agent Nicole Parker. Agent Parker, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. You wrote a piece for us in Fox about what has happened to you specifically in your role as an FBI agent. First of all, I just want to talk about your incredible background. It says a lot about the kind of people who join the FBI. You didn't start in law enforcement. In fact, your desire to turn to law enforcement began on 9/11. Can you explain?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. My experience the morning of September 11th of 2001, I was working for Merrill Lynch. I was in the World Financial Center, and the awful terrorist attacks that most individuals witnessed on television, I witnessed up close and personal, in person, down in New York City in the World Financial Center. And that morning, I saw things that no one should ever see. Individuals that their best option was to be jumping off of some of the top floors of the World Financial Center, the World Trade Center, to their deaths because they had no way out. We were under attack by terrorists. It was a day that changed my life, and I knew that one day I would go back and serve this country. And the FBI was the vehicle which I selected in order to go back and to give back to this country and to serve the citizens of the United States of America.
And the selection process, it was rigorous. I think out of thousands of applicants, you were one of a couple of hundred that were accepted. Then you went to that training in Quantico, which we know is not easy. You spent years as a very proud FBI agent doing some very courageous work down in Miami, where there's a lot of hot territory down there. Explain what your experience was and how you felt about the FBI then.
So when I joined the FBI, I had so much pride. I was very, very proud. You're right. It was a very difficult selection process, and the experience at Quantico, it was very, very difficult. You know, you go through a lot of training, legal training, firearms, interview and interrogation, defensive tactics, and it was very, very difficult. But we loved working for the FBI. You go through that training, you get out, and you're in the field, and you're working cases. You show up. I showed up in the Miami division. The Miami division has been an amazing experience. It's a very dynamic office. We have very strong leadership in the Miami division. And I had the opportunity to get in there and really serve the American people. I worked a variety of cases. I started in white collar, working Ponzi schemes, securities fraud, and then I transferred over to the violent crime department, working, homicides, active shooters, the Parkland school shooting I responded to, the Fort Lauderdale airport shooting. I assisted with the Cesar Sayoc case that was worked out of the New York field office where the subject was down in the Miami division.
So you were capturing the bad guys, the very bad guys in many cases, and protecting the innocent. There wasn't any sign of politics back then. It was just doing your job. When did politics begin to seep into the process at the FBI?
Right. So I was involved on the criminal side of the house. And so you're literally working investigations, protecting American citizens from various criminal activities. There are various departments at the FBI. And when I first became aware of it, it was something that all Americans were aware of. And it was when they, Lisa Page, Peter Strzok, that FISA debacle. But, we kind of looked at it from the field office level that didn't affect us. I was down in the Miami division. I was working violent crime. We were working hard. And we just kept our heads low and we stayed focused on our cases. But it got to the point where there were many incidents that seemed to be occurring over and over. And it made it very difficult for us in the field to have the buy-in of the American people. What people don't understand is the FBI, we have 56 field offices all around the country. And when the majority of the agents are working hard and upholding the Constitution and doing the right thing, we need the buy-in of the American people. And when they start seeing things that they don't agree with, then it gets difficult for those in the field to have the cooperation of the general American public. And we need that cooperation in order to do our job.
But you said in your piece, you saw the development of like two FBIs, one that was doing their job and another that was getting political. Explain exactly what that looked like.
Right. So, just an easy way to describe it, it's almost as if in my mind and in other agents' minds, there almost became two FBIs, right? You've got the FBI where you've got the agents and the employees in the field, and they're just keeping their heads low, working different cases, and we have absolutely nothing to do with politics. And then it seemed that there was kind of the other side of the FBI that was very politically driven, and some people were using their FBI law enforcement power to push their political agendas.
But they weren't forgive me for interrupting, but they weren't evenly divided, right? I mean, the agents who just wanted to keep their nose to the grindstone far outweighed the political ones, right?
Oh, absolutely. And that is what I'm here to tell you. The majority of the FBI has nothing to do with the politicization, but it only takes a handful of individuals who can really make it difficult for everyone to do their jobs. The vast majority of FBI employees are working hard, they're honest, they're trustworthy, fidelity, bravery, integrity. And I know that myself and my colleagues, we had nothing to do with anything that was involved on the other side of the FBI. And so, we just continued to work hard. But as the time progressed, and over the last few years in particular, it became more and more difficult to kind of keep your head low and ignore that other side because the buy-in of the American people wasn't there as much.
So you then left the FBI, and of course it's our loss. It's America's loss because we need the straight shooters like yourself. But I'm just wondering, as you see what's happening now with the different ways in which the ex-president and the current president have been treated with regard to this secret document case, is that, would you say, an example of the political bias that you saw firsthand?
That is something that I would say is an example, because Americans deserve to have an impartial, non-political, non-biased law enforcement agency. We owe that to the American people. And we as FBI employees, we did our best and we did the right thing. And I can tell you, I was unbiased. The people that I work with were unbiased. The individuals in the Miami division that I worked very closely with, and nationwide I worked with agents, and they were not politically biased. And so it's unfortunate that when they're individuals in D.C., or, it has a trickle-down effect, it just negatively impacts everybody. But I do want Americans to know there are so many amazing individuals holding the line.
I'm sure.
But it takes a few bad apples, and we have got to fix that. That has got to be fixed.
Very quickly, I'm getting a wrap, but I have to ask whether or not you're going to be working with any of these committee investigations into the politicalization of the FBI. Are you going to be working with Jim Jordan or other congressmen in those investigations?
I cannot say whether I am or I am not. I can tell you I'm not an official whistleblower for the FBI because I left on a very positive note with the FBI. I am not a whistleblower, but I do have concerns about the FBI and the direction where it's headed. If it was so fabulous, I wouldn't have left. And
would you be willing to speak in public during congressional hearings?
You know, I'll cross that bridge when I come to it.
Okay. Well, Agent, we are very sorry to be missing you as one of the field agents online. You did great work. I've read your resume. It's very impressive, and I'm so sorry that things didn't work out for you. We needed you there, unfortunately. I hope you're not representative of other good agents that might leave the FBI. We thank you for coming in and talking about it with us.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
We appreciate it, too.